Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Sierra and I post videos on this channel every single Friday. I post lifestyle content, mostly book related, because that's what the people have been asking for lately. So if you have any specific book video ideas you want, drop them in the comments and I will do my best to make it an actual video. But today's video is going to be something I've actually kind of been wanting to do for a while now, and that is my favorite childhood books. Not childhood books, my favorite children's books. And when I say children books, I mean not picture story books, but more like, you know, in the realm of children appropriate books that are targeted for probably, I would say, 8 to 11, 12. I know I read these books definitely 8 to 12. I would consider the books that I read from 8 to 12 definitely all under the category of children's fiction, definitely. And some of, like, I was an avid reader as a kid, so I read like scores of books. So the ones that I'm sharing with you today are ones that really stuck out to me and just like impacted me. Yes, impacted me. And I am going to be sharing with you why I like them so much and how they impacted me and why I think you should read them whatever age you are, because I still read like all 6 of these books. I still reread them like not pretty often, but you know, I'll go to them like if I need a good wholesome comfort read. So let's get into it. The first book I want to talk about is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. I was given this book by my grandmother one Christmas when I was a kid, and I can't explain how I fell in love with it the first time, but I just did, and it made me go back and reread it and then reread it, and I still reread it to this day and rave about it. I have like literally told other friends who are my age, like, go read this kid's book, please go read this kid's book. The main premise of the book is about this like China doll rabbit who starts his life as the favorite toy of a child girl, who then goes on a journey across the ocean and accidentally drops her beloved rabbit in the ocean. Actually, she doesn't drop it, gets thrown in the ocean, and then is rescued by a sailor, and it's just all about Edward the rabbit's life and all of the different people he comes in contact with, how he brings a smile and joy to people's lives who don't have much joy. And I think the reason this book impacted me is because the message I gleaned from it, obviously I don't know the intended message that Kate DiCamillo had with this book, but for me, the message I get from it is you touch so many people's lives in your own life. You're never sure when you're going to be entering and exiting someone's life. As a kid, I definitely aspired to be like Edward Tulane, who obviously as a doll rabbit couldn't speak anything, like he couldn't say anything, but he still made people happy. And I, as like a human, what can I do to make people happy? That was kind of the application that I got from it. I think it also spoke to me a lot because the bunny, Edward, is constantly on the move, and like as a military kid, I'm also constantly on the move. Constantly, you know what I mean. I move around frequently. So this book really spoke to my heart as a child, still speaks to my heart as a teenager. So I definitely recommend this and love it so much. The next book, I own it, but I don't actually have it with me because I have loaned it to my friend to read because obviously it's such a good book. I want everyone to read it, and that is Out of My Mind by Sharon Draper. I forget her last name exactly at the moment, but I will put it up on the screen. This book is about a girl who is in a wheelchair and cannot talk verbally, but her mind is super sharp and active, and she is very intelligent. Her parents enroll her in a special education class at their middle school, and she just blows away everyone by how smart she is, and she ends up joining like I forget what it's called, but like, you know, the teams in schools that like go and do quizzes and like compete but she ends up getting on that and blowing everyone away with how ridiculously smart she is. So what really stuck out to me with this book is the very cliche message of, you know, don't judge someone the way they look, but it's deeper than that to me. It's more about don't underestimate someone just because you think they have a mental disability, because like it's so often not true. Just because someone can't talk, they can't move, they have something like mobility wise wrong with them, that has nothing on their personality and their brains. And I think I'm also just blown away by the girl's, I'm forgetting her name right now, but the girl's patience and kindness to those in her life who are just so brutal to her about what she has to go through. It's just such a good book, and I love it so much. So the next book is another one about a girl who is going through some difficult things in her life, and that would be One for the Murphys by, I'm forgetting the author's name, again on the screen. I have only ever checked this book out from a library, so I don't actually own it, but nevertheless, I am still so in love with this book, and the fact that I actually remember the title is very surprising. That must mean that like it really impacts me if I remember a book title that I got from the library so long ago. It's still stuck with me. I've checked out so many library books over the years, like I've forgotten so many, but One for the Murphys is a book about a girl in the foster care system after she has gone through abuse from her mother and stepfather, and she ends up with the Murphys and just experiences the most family love and kindness that she like never could have expected in her life, and she learns so many valuable things about friendship, being a sibling to the boys in that family, what a real mother looks like in Mrs. Murphy, and she also makes a wonderful friend at the school she ends up going to. And this book, honestly, this book is the first one I ever read that had to deal with the foster care system, and I think because of that book I have it on my heart to one day help kids in the foster care system, if that makes sense. I've definitely done so much more research because of that book on like the real trials that kids go through, because like the trials they go through that put them in that system. It just like, it touches my heart, if that makes sense. And that was the super big impact that that book had on me. I love it so much. I really can't talk it up enough because it's so real and raw about life, but it can also speak to a kid, because I read it as a kid. The only warning I would add with that book is there are some flashbacks of the girl who was in the foster care system, the main character. There are some flashbacks of the abuse that she went through that I actually, the first time I read it, had to put the book aside because I was really triggered by it. Now I'm not as much. I've read worse things, if that makes sense. So it could be triggering for some, but also I got through it and I really liked that book. And I would say I was definitely like a sensitive kid when it came to stuff like that, because I've always grown up in a really great household. I've never dealt with abuse. That's the only warning I would give with it, but just stick it out because it is such an amazing book. Alright, we're gonna throw a classic in the ranks and talk about Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I don't think I need to explain why this is such a good book. I feel like everybody knows what it's about, the four March sisters and their growing up and growing closer through all sorts of things. I have only ever read this book fully like one time. You know, I started it and finished it. I go to this book and read like different sections of it very often. I used to like think of myself as I would relate myself to one of the sisters more, and then another day I'd be another sister. I love how wholesome this is and just how like down to earth it is about just showing you a family. Not a rich family, not a super poor family, just a family, and the growing up of the four sisters and who they become as young women and as sisters and daughters within their family. And it's so sweet, and I I just enjoy it so much. I've watched like almost all of the movie and TV show adaptations that have been done with it. Not the most recent one, but almost all of them. And nothing is like the actual book. So that's my 2 cents on it. The next book I once again don't own because I've only ever checked it out from the library, and that is Every Soul a Star by, I believe, Wendy someone. I remembered the title, be proud of me for that. This book is actually the first novel I ever read. Yes, it is a novel, and it is from the different perspectives of 3 different kids. One is a girl whose parents own a space science camp. The other is a girl who's always lived in the city, and her parents have bought the space/science camp and they are moving there. And then the other perspective is a boy who has been selected to go with some other students from his school to that space science camp to watch the solar eclipse that will be taking place there that summer. And the beautiful thing about this book is that it just so like effortlessly blends the 3 different characters' lives into this like one event and one space. The climax of the book is 100% the solar eclipse. It ties everything together so neatly, and the character arcs are wonderful. This was 100% the first book that I like deep dived into analyzing it like on my own because I'd never really done that before. I can't pin down like one message or application from it exactly, but it just spoke to me, you know? Sometimes books just do that and you can't really explain why, and that is one of them. Alright, the final book is The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. I love the whole series, The Land of Stories. I have all 6 books. My sister has all 6 books. I actually got her into The Land of Stories. Very, very happy I did that. This book is the only fantasy fiction that I will put up with, like with magic and everything. It is about the Bailey twins, Alex and Connor, who receive a fairy tale book from their grandmother, and they end up falling into the fairy tale world and go on adventures within the fairy tale world to get back home. There's so much more to it than that, but I'm kind of talking a lot about every book, so I'm gonna leave it at that. The thing I love most about this book and the whole series is the message of family and sibling love that's at the core of it, and how the twins, they disagree, they fight throughout it, but at the end they come together, like, you know, at the end of each book, at the end of the series, they come together and they help each other in such powerful ways that just speaks volumes beyond the children's fiction that it's, you know, meant to be. Those are all of the books I have to share with you today. I really hope you liked this video. Maybe you want to read them for yourselves. I think all of the books I talked about, yes, they are children's fiction. They are targeted at a children's audience, but I would still read them as a 16-year-old. I would still recommend them to teenagers, young adults maybe. Some of them have really powerful messages that just drive home really important applications that shouldn't be missed out on, whatever age you are. So I'll link all of them in the description if you're interested. Maybe you want to read them, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you read any of these books when you were a kid, I'd love to know if you did. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week for whatever video that is. Until then, bye!